Welcome back. Former President Trump will be meeting with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu at Mar-a-Lago today. Netanyahu met with both President Biden and Vice President Harris separately yesterday. Harris pledged unwavering support for Israel while slamming the country over the number of deaths in Gaza. The meeting came, of course, after Kamala skipped Bibi's address to Congress. It took a full 24 hours for Harris to finally condemn the violent anti-Israel protests that took place as the prime minister spoke. They burned American flags, they defaced monuments, clashed with police. Harris denounced the, quote, despicable acts and, quote, hate-fueled rhetoric. Trump wrote this on Truth Social, meanwhile: if those people rioting in Washington were Republicans or conservatives, they'd all be in jail right now, facing 10 to 20-year sentences. Under this crooked administration, nothing will happen to them. U.S. Park Police's union chief told the New York Post the officers were understaffed and left alone while being assaulted by mobs of thousands. Joining me now is New York Congresswoman Claudia Tenney, a member of the House Ways and Means Committee, as well as the Science, Space, and Technology Committee. Congresswoman, it's good to see you this morning. Thanks so much for being here. Your reaction?
It was horrific to watch what was happening. Of course, we were in the chamber while Netanyahu was giving the speech, and we could just see it on our Twitter feeds and social media, what was happening outside, and the horrific acts of them taking down flags owned by the federal government and burning them, which is a crime. It is not. You can burn your own flag. You can't burn someone else's. And the fact that Kamala Harris did not attend this event is so significant and sends a terrible message to our enemies in the Middle East, particularly Hamas and everyone backed by Iran. I thought Prime Minister Netanyahu gave an historic speech. He talked about everything that we need to know about the important and critical relationship between the United States and Israel, the only democracy in the Middle East, our line of defense to stand up to these Islamic radicalists. He made beautiful, comparisons between what World War II looked like with Nazi Germany and what it looked and what we look like now. And the entire, many Democrats embracing or afraid to stand up to this horrific acts that we are seeing: anti-Semitism, anti-Americanism, violence, support for Hamas, a terrorist group. I mean, this is very concerning. And as we sat in the room, look, I've seen this before with the Democrats. They refused to stand up for anything that Netanyahu said. Of course, so many of them boycotted anyway. But that to me is a show of weakness and a show of embracing this dangerous rhetoric, dangerous anti-Semitism coming out of these terrorist organizations.
Well, I mean, look, Congresswoman, I want to get your take on this whole rewrite of history here. The House approved a bipartisan resolution which condemns Vice President Kamala Harris's performance on the border. 6 Democrats joined you and your colleagues, all the Republicans, in that vote. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries and White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre, however, both claimed that Harris was never in charge of the border. Watch this.
It's a fake and fraudulent resolution. She was never assigned the position of border czar. They're making that up.
We are going to debunk the false characterization of the vice president. She was not a border czar. That is not true.
So, Congresswoman, I guess everybody got the memo to distance Kamala from the disastrous border. Here's President Biden assigning Kamala Harris the job back in March of 2021, and Kamala touting a border visit 3 months later. Watch.
I've asked her, the VP, today, because she's the most qualified person to do it, to lead our efforts with Mexico and the Northern Triangle and the countries that help. We're going to need help in stemming the movement, stemming the migration to our southern border.
Well, thank you, Mr. President, and for having the confidence in me. And there's no question that this is a challenging situation.
Madam Vice President, how did you decide that right now was the right time to make your first trip to the border?
Well, it's not my first trip. I've been to the border many times.
As the person in charge of the response.
So, the important aspect of this visit is leading this visit after the work that we did in Guatemala and Mexico. Because I said back in March I was going to come to the border, so this is not a new plan.
Congresswoman, your thoughts?
Look, they are scrambling. They're lying, of course, because they know right now the top issue is the border, and it's tied with the economy and MG. They're all sort of inextricable. But here they are, Hakeem Jeffries lying. Everyone's lying. The record is proven. It's not just, video. There's all kinds of articles written by, corporate media calling her the border czar. Everyone remembers her 1.5-hour trip to the border where she basically didn't even really talk to border agents. And she kept talking about, the fact that we had problems. We were going to give money to these Northern Triangle countries to stop them. She talked nothing about the cartels. She didn't talk about the fentanyl and the drug and the human smuggling and the human trafficking going on. She's never talked about the northern border, where we now have a 440% increase, where I live up in upstate New York, and people are under siege. The taxes that have been waged against New Yorkers, almost $4 billion just from New York State, not to mention the federal and New York City, the deaths, the rapes, the things that are going on because of the border. They know they're in trouble. That's why they're trying to backpedal on all of this. And it's great. It's an admission that the border is a problem, but they refuse to do anything about it because they still need all these people to somehow get to the ballot, and and put ballots in the box.
That's the point I made earlier, that just the fact that they're pushing back, saying that she was never the border czar, tells you they recognize the importance of the border, not just to the American people because of the vote coming up 100 days away, but to America's national security. They get it. They just don't admit it. But now they have to admit it because they have to say she was never in charge of it. Look, what about all of this rewrite of history, Congresswoman? I mean, you look on TikTok, and of course, TikTok is controlled by the CCP. There's all this propaganda about how great Kamala Harris was as a vice president.
Look, that's scary. And this is typical of an authoritarian regime, a communist regime. They cannot survive without revisionism and without manipulating the media and using propaganda. So isn't it interesting that the Chinese know that their biggest threat is Donald Trump? Their biggest, what would be great for them is Kamala Harris. And so isn't it amazing that they're putting all this out? And then she is deciding to go on Twitter after we've all been advised by, responsible members of Congress,
TikTok?
Both the Senate and the House.
You mean on TikTok?
On TikTok, yeah. Yeah, she's now said, I'm going to be on TikTok. And what is amazing about it is that, the Democrats know, like, they can control the media. Look, we have authoritarian regimes right now. How do they manipulate the public? They manipulate the media. It's propaganda. And that's what they're doing. And they have a lot of control over the media. Now, goodness knows how much relationship she has with China, but I don't even know if it matters. China knows she's going to be just as weak or worse than President Biden is right now. And that they know that Obama's policies are lurking in the background with his staff and people there. The only president in American history to stay in Washington after he left. All this stuff is just, it's scary, and people should be awakened, but they don't. I don't know. I don't know if the American people are going to really find out. I do everything I can to inform them, and I think we have to do everything we can to protect our election integrity. And what about, this is the biggest thing this does. This undermines our so-called democracy that they constantly talk about, that Donald Trump is a threat. There is no greater threat to democracy than the Democrats, and especially Joe Biden and Kamala Harris with Obama in the background.
Yeah, well, so you just said, I didn't mean to interrupt you, you just said she joined TikTok while the rest of us in Congress were told what?
To not join. I'm not on TikTok. They said, it's dangerous. Don't be on TikTok. No. TikTok is, a Chinese communist spy operation, which it is. We know that. We know that they're using it. Now, look at their propaganda, wittingly or unwittingly, with Kamala Harris. They want her in there because they know they can continue to be on the march, to take control, whether it's, energy you talked about earlier, the solar panels, the climate initiatives that they're talking about, continuing to put the United States at risk.
Yeah, Trump constantly threatens tariffs. They know that, Trump is an unknown. He may very well do 100% tariffs. They don't know. They don't want that. Meanwhile, the Trump campaign says it's not going to commit to a debate with Kamala Harris until after the Democrat National Convention. Of course, it starts August 19th. It's going for 4 days. But the Trump campaign says that they are not sure if Harris will actually even be the nominee. Harris's team says she's ready to debate. And back in 2020, Harris was asked about her far-left voting record in the Senate. Here's what she said.
You're considered the most liberal United States senator.
Somebody said that, and it actually was Mike Pence on the debate stage. But
yeah, well, actually, the nonpartisan GovTrack has rated you as the most liberal senator. You supported the Green New Deal. You supported Medicare for all.
Yes, Harris's most liberal ranking suddenly taken off GovTrack's website this month. The founder of GovTrack claims that, well, we removed it because the company adopted a new ranking policy, Congresswoman. So I guess maybe they got the memo, too. Stop saying she's the border czar.
Everything about them is that they can control is manipulated. I mean, you're looking at, again, it's more propaganda, manipulation of the media that they control, whether it's, the mainstream media. They control education. They control big tech. Of course, we have a reprieve now with Elon Musk, standing up for the First Amendment and making sure that the truth gets out. So that's helpful. We have Mark Zuckerberg, oddly enough, from Meta deciding not to really get involved in this, although everybody on Facebook knows they continue to get censored for one reason or another if you have any kind of conservative view. But look, it's so interesting how they've calculated this. I said in 15 minutes of the debate, I tweeted out, I said, Joe Biden will not be the nominee. This was a calculated pre-convention maneuver to show America that he can't be the nominee. But they had to get him through the primaries to make sure some of those sort of exotic candidates like Marianne Williamson and Dean Phillips, although he's not exotic, he's very credible, someone like they could not actually get their way in. JFK or RFK Jr., other potential nominees. So they got the delegates in line. They've got them in line again. But again, they're all going to vote in August 19th. And that's why Trump is going to wait to see what happens. Is there going to be, a blow up of all this? But they're circling the wagons. They seem to be all getting behind her right now. And that's why they're manipulating the media and manipulating what's online and the information we can see.
Yeah, well, look, President Obama called her and now is apparently endorsing her. So we'll see where that goes. Congresswoman, it's good to see you always. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Claudia Tenney joining us in New York.